Hi everyone. This is my mom. She was fashion designer when I little. And this is me. I was wearing the dress that she made for me in this picture. I grew up with sewing machines, giant tailor scissors, and different fabric, which allows me have a special place in fashion within me as I grew up. Therefore, I experienced the whole clothing process many times. From the start, this is developmental process of clothing, starting from plan, turning to a garment. It only costs $4.99 for us to get t-shirts from H&M. But have you ever thought about the hiding environment costs? The water use, the pesticides, the production, and transportation. It takes 2,007 liters of the water to produce a single t-shirt. This is a lot of effort by human resource, and it's not easy. One of the main concerns in China that every second of garbage truck of clothing is landfilled and incinerated, which infect the environment. My name is Zhenshuan Wang, and today I will bring you through my thesis titled Secondhand, Second Love: Reimagine Sustainable Fashion in China. And secondhand clothing can help with these issues, and the best sustainable choice. In China, there's a massive stigma around the secondhand clothing. People regarding a secondhand pair as dirty, old, and sign of poverty. When people wear secondhand clothing in Western countries such as US, it seems less stigma and a way to express themselves. So I saw the opportunity there. The vintage starting become more acceptable in China. And how to turn things around, and why people have such a negative attitude toward the secondhand clothing. To understanding why, I did some research, an interview with subject matter experts, including the fashion designer, secondhand retail owner, and the customers. A state by the interviews named Laura, she said, buying secondhand is hunting pleasure because you don't know what you can find in the pocket. It might be a photo or notes from the previous owner. This made me realize the clothing is simple more special when you know where you come from or the story from the previous owner. This appreciation for it encourages people to wear it well and treat it with care. So, how can one reduce the stigma on the secondhand and bring this trend upward? I designed a new installation shopping experience for the retail store, which I named Nailed It Thread. Let's take a look at how store experience works. This experience sells clothing by the storytelling through those sculpture wall on the wall, and without displaying actual pairs. Inside of the store, there will be the high chest with a different height on the wall, and each high level, there's a mouse that represents different story for the woman, men, and kids. This component in the store is experimental. Let's listen to one story from kids' secondhand clothing.
A long time ago, I made a dress for my daughter, Zia, based off of a drawing she had done. She loved this dress, and it has since been a big hit with everyone that saw it. At that time, Zia could often be quoted saying, "I am wearing my imagination." Since my daughter is growing up, this dress doesn't fit her anymore. For this dress, Zia and I would like to find a little owner. I hope to encourage children to unrestrainedly open their imaginations with this dress.
To increasing the achievement of this new shopping experience, I was selling the story about secondhand items in the Washington Square Park. To prevent incorrect interactive results, I removed various interactive costs by object size limit and price. But I noticed there is a lack of trust from the people I represent too. The main reason is that I didn't show them the physical product at the beginning. From improving this shopping experience, let me introduce this app, iTell. iTell creative clothing categories for the clothing by the type of the emotion-related story. In general, the regular fashion app created the category by the type of garment. And also, on the clothing detail page, ITEL offers stories that clothing hold instead of showing basic information about garment. In-app ITELs usually can also donate their clothing, including the stories that bring to the store. On the map, you can find every participating clothing store that have an ITEL platform. I have found that the second-hand clothing is a sustainable practice that gives the clothing a second chance at love. Shopping doesn't have to be the guilty pleasure if you participating in the second-hand clothing market. So choosing the right piece based on the story you love, going to a pleasure hunt. But if you have damaged clothing, what about them? People feel shame about wearing and donate the damaged clothing into the public, and they threw them away. Malin Wember says, organic and recycled doesn't always equal sustainability. There's no one sustainable fabric in itself. So what should we do? Let's look back 3 essential elements of the stigma around a second-hand garment. I find out the damaged clothing is the one that carries the most severe stigma, people regarding them as trash, as invaluable item. Therefore, this leads to the person to discarding them. We often hear people say resale is the future of the fashion, but Julie Van Rice says resale is part of fashion solution and will equal with going forward. The future of the fashion is always creativity. So, reinsert and upcycling. I believe we can extracting the valuable part from damaged clothing. I designed a term which helps the people reinsert damaged clothing and identify them as a part of the piece of fabric or valuable components. Tear down, turn into a new garment. If I have a damaged pants, first, identify the valuable component, and then tear them up. Turn will help you sell. Other users can use the valuable part turned into a new garment by using your item. Turn also give you ideas. Users can go to a community center to check others' posts to learning upcycling. To physicalize this experience on the platform of Turn, I also created a contemporary organizer for the sewing material. Do you still remember your grandma's reaction when you wear the first pair of ripped jeans? They want to repair them instead of discarding them. People are scared about sewing because it takes time and patience. But the sewer put their sentiment into the garment. From this data of lifespan clothing, adults above the age 51 keep the pairs into their wardrobe almost 2 times than young generation. Therefore, the young generation become my target user. And why that happen? Because of fast fashion, a careless disregard of cost of creating and the true value of the clothing. So, what can we do? We can fix our clothing. Sewing machine cannot fix everything, and not for everyone to have it. When we think about hand sewing compared to the sewing machines, hand sewing actually makes clothing stronger than the sewing machine. To exploring better way for user to use sewing tools, I analyze the movement of the sewing process during my sketching. Here's my final product, Reformations. The Reformations give you tools and information for your reformation. Let's look at how inspire user with something I put together. And here is package design for the product and the billboard campaign for it. Now I want to jump conclusions that the most sustainable clothing is already exist. Love for longer. Thank you.
Jen Swan, thank you. I love the quote that you had, the future of fashion is creativity, from the CEO of The Real Real. And this led to the project Turn. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, for my understanding, I totally agree with Jules Van Rice, what she says. And because everyone knows the fashion is a circle. So from my perspective, the secondhand clothing actually is a future, and also it represents our past.
Ah, so nice.
Yeah, so when we think about the fashion, the secondhand always will be the leading the train, because every fashion designer, they extracting the elements from the past and creating the new things in the future. So they always gonna be in the circles and always will be lead. The past always will lead to the future. So I totally agree with that.
This is so beautiful. We just need to end right there. I think we got the whole thing.
Yeah.
I'm teasing. You learned some amazing stories from your interview. I mean, this actually started with fast fashion, right?
Yeah. Yeah, because I really got really interesting some quote and insight from my interview. One of the vintage store owner, she was telling me he don't understanding why people have stigma around the secondhand clothing, because what he think about the secondhand clothing and the fast fashion, people usually obsess about fast fashion because it's new and cheap, and never have once thought about the fast fashion actually also get tried on 1,000 times by someone else. So we cannot say, we cannot say it's also new.
Okay. So if you go to a secondhand store, you're thinking that this garment has been tried on a lot, worn a lot, but in the H&M as well, right?
Yeah.
In the changing rooms. That's fascinating, actually. I am in love with that project you did last semester, iTell, where the idea is that in a secondhand clothing store, that there's a tag, and I don't remember if it was a QR code, but it leads to some sort of recording or text story that the person who had donated or sold the secondhand piece of clothing to the store. And so the idea is that I can choose iTell retailers or secondhand clothing stores who participate in the iTell platform.
Yes, you can choose every participating clothing store on the iTell platform, and you can bring your clothing and into the store, donate your clothing with the story.
With the story,
yeah.
My daughter Bronwyn is really into thrifting right now, and I can't imagine how exciting she and her generation would be that they could actually record this story. It could be images, it could be video that went along with this piece of clothing of why it was meaningful to her.
Yeah, the story always make people more appreciate the things where you get from, and the story from the previous owner. It makes the meaningful.
It's the circle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.